Hi guys, welcome back to the Spurred On podcast. I'm still warm in the glow of the Tottenham Hotspur 4, Newcastle United 1 drubbing, absolute drubbing of the Geordies on Sunday afternoon. Thoroughly enjoyed it, but it's Tuesday now and time to get into another edition of Tottenham Transfer Rumours. Things are really starting to heat up rumour-wise with January now only 19 days or so away, and I think it's fair to say that our recruitment team, our head of sporting development, our sporting director, whatever you want to call him, Bruno Lang, is now really starting to get his teeth into the job, and the leaks are starting to come out in the papers as to what we are looking to buy and who we are going to get through the door. Before I get into those transfer rumours though, thank you so much for your support on the Spurred On podcast. Please do keep on listening and watching. If you're watching on YouTube, please do also go over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and give me a subscribe or a follow there. That would be so helpful and supportive, and vice versa. If you're listening on the podcast somewhere, then please do come over to YouTube, youtube.com/@BarnabySlater_. Press that subscribe and the bell button. But today, in terms of transfer rumours, well, firstly, I actually want to talk about something that isn't a transfer rumour. It is Destiny Udogie's new contract. This one has come a little bit out of the blue, but in terms of how Daniel Levy likes to operate, I am not surprised. Udogie has been with us now, a year and a half, because the first year he was at Udinese on loan. And this year, under Ange Postecoglou, he has proven that he is, or at least has the ability to become an elite level Premier League, and even, I dare say, maybe even a world-class fullback. He plays that inverted left-back role so brilliantly, and we have just been so much better when he's been on the pitch. He really has shown himself to be a cut above. And therefore, as Daniel Levy likes to do, when a player shows his potential, he will offer them a new deal. He will do that to try and ward off any potential suitors, and he's done it with Udogie. And Fabrizio Romano came out yesterday and said that Udogie's new deal is till 2029, with another potential year on top, and we've got that signed and delivered, and I, for one, am incredibly excited about it. Well done, Destiny. You've deserved it. Long may it continue, and let's get the best out of this player over the next 5 or so years. But on to the rumours, starting with a big one that isn't the first time we've heard of it. Conor Gallagher from Chelsea. Now, he can play anywhere, the 6, the 8, or the 10. He's an England international, and I think there's been so much talk about this towards the end of the summer transfer window, as well as coming up again now, that there must be something in it. It's one of those ones that just keeps on going, a bit like the Pedro Porro one last January and before. We'd been interested in him and it came to fruition. It sounds to me like Chelsea need to get some wages off their books and try to get some transfer funds in. It sounds to me also like Todd Boehly is willing to work with clubs that previously Abramovich and his cohorts at Chelsea weren't willing to sell or buy from, and that is Tottenham Hotspur. And it would not surprise me at all if we got this one over the line. For me, I wonder if Gio Lo Celso is really interesting Barcelona, whether that is a deal where we would get the money for Lo Celso and then spend it on Conor Gallagher. It won't be an easy one to do because he's English, and that obviously comes with an English player tax, but also an English club to English club tax. Those kind of transfer fees always go up in value in terms of how much more than their actual value it would be worth. But Conor Gallagher apparently refusing to sign a new contract at Chelsea, which means we will be able to get him a bit cheaper than we normally would. He is an incredibly talented player, I think, and also, most importantly, with that talent comes work rate. He's always willing to be the hardest working player on the pitch. He runs endlessly. He's got an incredible engine, and I am incredibly excited by the prospect of him coming to Tottenham Hotspur. An English player who plays for the national team, who's got talent, can score goals, defends well, works hard. What an opportunity this could be to take advantage of all the trouble that's happening at Chelsea and bring in a top-level Premier League player. When he was at Crystal Palace, some of the goals he scored breaking late into the box were Dele Alli-esque in terms of his timing. He really does have all of that, and of course he'd be a homegrown player. So that would enable us to get another foreign player through the door, as we had one more homegrown player in our squad. I should also say I read yesterday that Pat Matasar will become a homegrown player next season. I'm not quite sure on the rules of that. If you want to let me know in the comments how that works, I'd really appreciate it. But if that's true, that's also amazing news for us. So Conor Gallagher, because I think there's something in it, I'm going to say maybe 7.5 out of 10 possibility. What kind of money could we get him for? Probably around 45 million, I would have guessed. What do you think? Do you want Conor Gallagher to come to Spurs? Would you swap him for Gio Lo Celso? Lo Celso, who has been playing well and has really impressed me, but obviously, has he got the consistency? Will he show that over the rest of the season if he doesn't go in January? That is what I'm interested in finding out. On to the next one. Udogie Mamardashvili, Valencia's huge 6'4" goalkeeper, is interesting Spurs. He's played 14 times for the Georgian national team. He's played 79 times for Valencia in Spain. He's single-handedly almost responsible for them staying up, not getting relegated from the Primera Liga last season. He is known as the Georgian Wall, and they love him over in Italy. They say that he is kind of the second or third best goalkeeper in the country. Sorry, why did I say Italy? He was playing in Spain. What am I talking about? The reason I said Italy is because he has been rumoured to be replacing Onana over at Inter Milan in Italy. And that is because Vicario came to Spurs. Vicario had been rumoured to be replacing Onana at Inter Milan, but when that didn't happen, they started talking about Mamardashvili as the potential replacement for Onana long-term at Inter Milan. I've watched quite a lot of his stuff, gave him a little scouting, and he really closes down angles well. Very good at one-on-ones. Because he's 6'4", he's very good in the air, coming for crosses, incredibly imposing. As is the default setting of any keeper, he's a very, very impressive shot stopper. Brave, though, and gets across his goal incredibly well. As I said, good in one-on-ones, and I think he's a fascinating player to be interested in, because obviously we've got our number one now in Vicario, but Lloris will be leaving either in January or at the end of the season. As I mentioned in last week's video, finally, rumours have been linking him with this Newcastle position. It would not surprise me at all if he went to Newcastle to play as their number one for 3 or 4 months while Nick Pope is injured. So we will have a space for another keeper. Fraser Forster has just added another 1 year onto his deal, so he's the backup. But do we want to go down the Mikel Arteta route of having two incredibly strong goalkeepers vying for that number one spot? It would not surprise me at all. So I'm going to give this one maybe a 6.5 out of 10. Probably not in January, but maybe something we'll look at in the summer or down the line. The next rumour is England international centre-back Ben Godfrey, 25 years old, from Everton, not playing in Everton's first team at all this season. He's been on the bench for pretty much every game, I think bar one. At his best, he's an incredibly talented centre-half. So fast, versatile, can also play on the left side of the back four. And he's brave in the tackle. But because of James Tarkowski and Jared Branthwaite, has not been getting a game there at all. He's played 98 times in the Premier League, so he's got experience and has 2 England caps. This is an interesting one. We're clearly looking at Everton, because as I said last week, linked with Jared Branthwaite as well. And now interested in Ben Godfrey. It wouldn't surprise me at all if his agent is looking for a move. And could he come to Spurs and be an interesting backup to Mickey van der Ven and Christian Romero? Kind of makes sense. You'd rather be a backup on the bench for them than you would at Everton to James Tarkowski and Jared Branthwaite, where you're looking at James Tarkowski and wondering why you're not in the team. Well, the reason he's not in the team is because Sean Dyche has no interest in playing football, and Ben Godfrey is more of a ball-playing centre-half. So that's a fascinating one. Let's give it a 6.5 and see what happens with that one. I'd say about him is he had an injury, broke a leg, and that has stunted his career a little bit, but he's not what I'd describe as injury prone. He's had a few, but nothing too terrible. I'd be intrigued to see this one come over. I reckon we could get him for maybe 20-25 million pounds. That would be worth it. The final little rumour that I read about that I want to talk about, and I've put in the thumbnail, Christian Eriksen. Apparently Manchester United are interested in selling him in January. This fascinates me, because I think the biggest problem at Manchester United at the moment, amongst many, is Bruno Fernandes. They insist on playing Bruno Fernandes in the 10, and that means that Christian Eriksen, when he does play, is playing at centre midfield. Christian Eriksen is not a central midfielder. I'm sorry, he's just not. Can he do it? Yes, he can, but it wastes all his amazing talents at number 10. Now, I'm not saying that this is a rumour that I've seen a lot. It's more like the Hugo Lloris one, where it wouldn't surprise me. Eriksen is now 31. He's getting into his latter days, but pace was never something for him anyway, so legs shouldn't be a problem. I would love to bring Eriksen back as the backup number 10 to James Maddison. Oh my God, the learning that Maddison could do off Eriksen on the training ground. And then when we need to give Madders a rest because he is prone to injury or when he is injured, to be able to bring Eriksen in and tell him you can play number 10 and you can just have a free roll, get on the ball where you want. He will make things happen for Spurs. I know there's a corner of the Spurs fan base that are like, oh, Eriksen was so bad in his last year at Spurs. But I've said it before, when your contract is running down, it's human nature that you would drop off 3 or 4%. And that's all it was from Eriksen. He wasn't terrible and he was playing in a team that were not playing well under Pochettino in that final season where we didn't win away from home for a long time. I think he'd be a perfect squad player as a number 10 at Tottenham Hotspur under Big Ange. I would love us to do it. We could get him pretty cheap, and I know he's 31, so it goes a little bit against what our transfer policy is at the moment, but I think it would be a worthwhile signing. Let me know what you think in the comments below about all of those transfer rumours. Who do you want? Who wouldn't you want? What kind of rating out of 10 are you going to give those transfer rumours? Let me know. And once again, please do subscribe to me on YouTube, youtube.com/@BarnabySlater_, and where you listen to your podcast, be that Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Just type in the Spurred On podcast, give me a subscribe or a follow. But most importantly, thanks for watching, and come on you Spurs.